Good morning and welcome to day 4 of our sew along. Today we'll be working with the lining of the Lucy backpack. We'll be adding the bottom to the main and then the bottom to the lining and get the bag ready for the final assembly tomorrow on the last day. So let's start by grabbing the bottom piece, and you want to mark the centers of the sides. And what I like to do is put a little snip. And this one doesn't work, I know, and yet I still grab it. And I'm just snipping to find the quarter points. Of my bottom. This follows a 1/2 inch seam allowance, so the snip will be in the seam allowance. So I mark that. Then I have the back marked here, or I lost my mark. Let me give it a snip to the back. The center back. I'm doing a little snipperoo here. Then I have the center front that's marked by the strap. That's easy. And then the sides, I'm going to match the center back to the center front and snip a little bit on the sides. So I know that that's the center of the side of the backpack. There. So I have all my marking done. Again, if you haven't, I don't know if it was in the frame. So I placed it, my center back with the center of the, and snipped on the sides. There you go. With the right sides together, place your bottom panel, matching those snips that you just made. Oops. And I do encourage you to use a lot of pins for this step to hold it in place. Some people use staples, I've seen. I'm afraid, because I'm afraid I'm gonna end up sewing through one of those staples and poking my eye out knowingly. So I try to avoid the staple if I can. So I match first the four points that I just made. Where's my snip? There. The 4 snips, and then I put pins all around it. As many as you want. I don't think you can have too many pins, especially on the curve. On the edge, on the flat edge, you don't need that many, but on the curve, it definitely helps. Because the bag wants to pop out the bottom, you know. This will definitely help release some of that pressure if you put a lot of pins. Oops, where are you? Make sure that the raw edges match. And here, as you can see, where the straps are, I have 4 plus 2. I have 10 layers of vinyl. So if you have this on your domestic machine, make sure that you go very slow. You might need to hand crank over this area because it's so many layers. If you've used vinyl, if you've used cotton, you have 10 layers of cotton nonetheless, but it's not that difficult if you go slow. Make sure that the seam allowances go in the same direction as they did at the top when you added this. They probably should have went both towards the outside, but I guess one of mine goes to the inside and I'm not redoing it. Alright, do we think I have enough staples? Enough. A big one here maybe to top it off. Okay, so this is the bottom, and we're going to sew it with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I tend to like to sew with the back straight like this, so that the bottom lays flat. I find that is the easiest way. Again, go slow. We're not in a rush. It's not a competition who can sew this many layers fast. Just go slow. And it will work out well. And keep your fingers out of the machine. And that was more for me. More like an Alex, keep your fingers out. And make sure everything is nice and flushed, no puckering. Slow over the seam allowances, slow over the straps. And now you can go ahead, if you'd like, and remove 1/4 inch of the seam allowance to make it easier when you flip it. I just want to check that everything looks nice on the inside. Oops. Alright, so set that aside. Your main bag is now ready. We're going to be working on the lining right now. We'll start by creating our lining pocket. Place your lining pocket pieces right sides together and sew along the top edge with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. This is one of the easiest pockets you can have. Flip it and top stitch at the seam. All the other seams will be raw right now. And of course you can give it a good press. Okay, pocket is done. Place your pocket to the bottom part if you have a directional print. If not, either one of the sides, because these are just rectangles. Place it like so, and you can baste around. And I do recommend you baste around or stitch around, because we'll be leaving an opening on one of the sides and you don't want to have the pocket like flying around in the opening. So now if you leave it like this, your pocket will be quite large. It's up to you and what you know your needs are for the inside of the bag, how you split this up. So you can do one in the center, you can do 3 pockets, you can do like a large pocket and a small pocket, which is what I tend to like on bags because I put my phone in the small one and larger item in the other one. So now you can measure and separate your pocket however you like. So I think I'm just gonna put 1 stitch here. This way I have a larger pocket on this side and a smaller pocket for my phone on this side. I just randomly place it. If you want to measure, of course, you can go ahead and measure. Alright, so my phone pocket is ready. Take the other lining piece right now and lay it right sides together. Like so. So you're going to be stitching one side the whole way from top to bottom with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And the other side, you'll be leaving the opening for you to birth your bag. And I encourage you to leave a big opening. The smaller the opening, the way harder it will be to actually flip the bag. So I will stitch like 1 inch or so at the top. And back stitch. So it's strong, like secured there. And then I will stitch another 1 inch or so at the bottom. And the same thing, make sure you back stitch. And it's a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And then I leave a big opening. I don't even care what the pattern says. Some say 6 inches, some say 4. I've learned that the bigger the opening, the easier will be to flip it. So I leave this own opening like this big on the side. That's how the sides will look like. So all we have left to do today is add the bottom, and then we are ready for tomorrow to put the back together. So I'm going to add the bottom the same way we did before. Snip, snip, to mark the 4 quarters and match the snips over there. Make sure that the snip is not bigger than 1/4 inch. Don't get snip happy. And the sides are already marked by the stitches that we've made. So now I'm just going to snip for the center front and center back. No. All right. So place the shorter part of your oval on the sides, matching the sides. And then the longer part on the front and the back. I will keep my seam allowance to the back because the front has all those, or towards the side that doesn't have the pocket to reduce bulk. And I'm matching all those. Except for the many layers, I think this bag is really a nice, easy project. that you can do. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and stitch around this with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, trim the seam allowance down, and then snap a photo of the progress of my lining and the main, post it in the day 4 check-in of the sew along, the Lucy sew along in the Backstitch Backroom group on Facebook, and I will see you back here tomorrow when we'll be assembling the bag and we'll be adding the grommets if you chose to add the grommets. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.